Right, don't worry, I've not skipped a lot of parts out here. So this video is going to be about replacing the covers on the side of the engine and also the valve cover. Last video was obviously setting the timing up right and everything, and I can say at this point that the engine is running fine, so I can tell you that what I've done seems to have worked for me anyway at this point. So I think the next video will be probably the dual mass flywheel, clutch, and then building the car back up to the point that it is now, so that we can do the first start video, which I've already filmed. As you can see at this point, I've just got the radiator suspended in front of the engine so I can start it. So for me now, the next thing is going to be probably just I want to give these areas as well, I can get to them a little bit of a clean up, and then I'll be getting the front cross member of the car attached again, get the radiator and everything mounted into that, get the fan attached. I've got a couple of bits to show you that as well, what I've been up to. So there's going to be a few of the bits of the assembly process that I'm not going to bother filming really, so that'll probably just be like doing some of the stuff under the car, which is difficult to film anyway, which is just like bolting the subframe back up, which is just a case of lifting it and re-nipping those bolts back up. And probably some of the stuff with the hubs as well. Again, it's fiddly work. I don't think you know it's that interesting. You've seen how it comes apart. It's pretty much, it's just a reversal of what we've done to take it apart to reassemble it. So right, I think that's enough talking now anyway, so we'll jump back in time to when I'm putting these covers and the valve cover back on the engine. So this is something I need to get removed as well. So I noticed when I took this plate off that there was quite a bit of seepage around the bottom of here, so I'm guessing this rear main seal in the casing has had it. So we've got a brand new replacement one here, so we're just gonna get this thing removed and get the new seal in. No idea how to do this. I think I'll stick it on a piece of wood. I think that'll be fine. I really can't see the difference between keeping this really old one seal on there and putting a new one on. Like, I've heard some people say that potentially you know, they're going to leak if you replace the seal, but this thing was already leaking anyway. Not looking forward to this. I'm really worried about this main seal leaking, but I've done everything I can do really. You can see I've given everything a really decent clean up. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get this mounted up. To back that off maybe. There should be a dowel on this corner that we can get it to bite in. Right, okay, so this is our upper casing here. So we've got a couple of things to do to this before we refit it. So one thing that we'll have to do is to run some sealant round these edges here. Again, that's here and here, I think. And another thing is we've got seal, the old seal I pulled out of here for the thermostat. Thought it's worth replacing this anyway while we've got this off. And then little O-ring that goes in here as well. So it's got like little tabs on this, so you can only put it one way. And these are actually OE parts. On to installing the top cam cover then. Got our O-rings in, new gasket. Just a case of putting it on really, best we can. I've oiled up these holes here just to help them slide over these valves a little bit easier. And one thing I have done is I've put a little bit of the sealant on the bottom of the casing as well, and under this metal gasket, the part of the head gasket, it was leaking there before, and if I put this back on once I've disturbed it, I can only imagine that it's going to be leaking again once I put it back on. So not something I'd usually do, but I thought it was probably best in this case to just pop a little bit on there. I'm just going to do what I did. This seemed to work pretty well. Just going to give it a little tap on. I think we'll be on at that. Get all these in loosely first. It's a smaller one. I'm going to follow the tightening guide on this. So first thing, we tighten all these bolts and the one that will pop in this thermostat housing here to 5 Newton meters. And then what we need to do is pop our 2 bottom ones in. So I'm going to do these in stages as well actually. So these need to be 23. I'm going to take them both up to 10 first. Up to 23. So sort of upper range of this little torque wrench really, that. And then tighten the rest of these to 10 now. Again, I'm just going to do it in gradual stages, there's no rush. Right, time to install our nice new chain tensioner. a bit of a pain to get this in here. Luckily it's not that tight. And what I'm actually going to do is just turn the engine over a few times. You can see how easy that turns over. There's definitely nothing interfering there anyway. So I think we're good to button this back up and get our valve cover back on. Right, next job, you can see we've got our valve cover here, and I've given it a pretty decent clean up. Just want to get the gaskets replaced on it. So there's a big main gasket that goes all the way around, and then you've got your gaskets for the spark plugs as well. Just be careful of these little bits here in the end, these little metal washers, because they will drop out, or they might drop out. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, we've got all new seals for this. I think the OE ones of these are pretty dear. So this is the Febby Bilstein number, if anyone's after any. Now we've got our replacement gasket for the outside as well, so we'll get that fitted. Something I think is a nice little tip that I've seen people do before, and I'm going to do it on this as well, is just on any sort of sharp edges you get like this on one of these gaskets, just use a little bit of instant gasket on the corner, this high temperature silicon seal. Yeah, I'd say if you look at anywhere on this where it's the most likely place to leak is going to be that corner. It's probably why it's got this slightly raised bit here, but what I'll do as well, when I fit it to the car, I will actually even put a tiny little bit just on this raised bit and on this corner as well, for when we nip it down. A little bit of instant gasket in the corners there. Good. I'll get all these nipped down something like, I've got these end ones to put on as well, and then we'll torque the rest of them. Yeah, so as suspected, these are 10 Newton meters, so we'll just go around and nip these up to that. Again, it's just a case of not nipping one corner first and bending anything.